Let's bring in Nancy Grace. She joins us by phone. Nancy, you've been anticipating this moment for quite some time. What was your takeaway?
Well, I think that it's very significant we are learning the cause of death. And the fact that it is a strangulation, in my mind, even more so implicates Brian Laundrie. I think that when DNA results are in, we'll find out even more. Legal Eagles had long thought the COD, cause of death, would either be strangulation or blunt force trauma. I find strangulation to often be used. It's called a sweetheart murder. In other words, the perpetrator is close up and intimate with the victim, and we find that often in domestic homicides.
Yeah, Nancy, I was going to say the idea of strangulation, particularly of a young woman like this, after circumstances that we have seen in other videos at other times, to you, is that suggestive of a crime of passion?
It's absolutely suggestive of a crime of passion. I had long suspected it would be either strangulation or asphyxiation or blunt force trauma in a fit of rage. But here we have Gabby out in the wilderness alone with Brian Laundrie. We know she was contemplating leaving him because so many people had just told her to reconsider the relationship. There she is, alone with him, contemplating leaving. And statistically, the single most dangerous time for a woman contemplating leaving a relationship that's the single most dangerous time. And there she is, alone. What is really floors me is what it must have taken for him to leave her decomposing for 3 or 4 weeks. And I'm really happy in one way, or relieved is a better word, that they could even determine a cause of death due to potential decomposure of Gabby Petito.
And as far as what the details we just learned, what they do in tying or potentially making the connection to Brian Laundrie in the court of law, Nancy, I would ask you, referencing what a Salt Lake City-based private investigator is quoted talking about in our .com piece today, saying that he was not going to be surprised if it was manual strangulation or if he had choked her before. He said when he was watching that police video in Utah and she described how Laundrie grabbed her face during a domestic dispute, he said, the private investigator said that any victim who's been choked before, their natural reaction is to lower their chin to their clavicle to prevent that hand from going around their throat, suggesting that's what he saw her do in that video. Do you believe that law enforcement and lawyers are going to be able to make any sort of connection here?
I absolutely do believe that. You know, it's amazing what type of DNA is left behind, be it saliva, blood, semen, epithelial, which is skin cells. I hope that the decomposure did not ruin or compromise any of his DNA, if in fact it was there at all. But I can tell you this much. The fact that she was strangled out there, and when you look at her in that body cam video from Moab, August the 12th, the way she kept holding her hand up to her chest, near her neck. I mean, it's very, very disturbing. I now think that investigators, police, FBI, will use extrinsic evidence, such as placing Brian Laundrie at that location or the vicinity near the time of death, to place him there with her. So there's no way for a jury to find someone else did this thing. You know, through phone records, through receipts, through nav system on the Ford Transit, the navigation system, placing him there at the approximate time of her death. They will be able to do it.
Well, Nancy, you heard the coroner, Brett Blue, say that we may not know the exact date of death because of the state of decomposure of the body and the amount of time that the body went undiscovered. So if you're looking at that theory of trying to place Brian Laundrie in the same area at the time of her death, this coroner is suggesting that may be a difficult hill to climb. Well,
I have no doubt in my mind they will not be able to pinpoint a day. But if I look at the last time she's seen alive, the next time he's seen alone, and those receipts of him traveling across the country based on the time that he got home and the time she was last seen alive, I bet your bottom dollar we'll get a 3 or 4 day window of her time of death. And if they can place him there in that campground at that time, it's over.
Nancy, Stephen Bertolino, who represents Brian Laundrie's family, the attorney for the Laundrie family, has put out a statement following the reveal of the autopsy results, saying that Gabby Petito's death at such a young age is a tragedy. He writes, while Brian Laundrie is currently charged with the unauthorized use of a debit card belonging to Gabby, Brian is only considered a person of interest in relation to Gabby Petito's demise. At this time, Brian is still missing, and when he is located, we will address the pending fraud charge against him. Your reaction, Nancy?
Well, that's exactly what I would expect him to say. That's what he's being paid to say. So I'm not surprised at all. He wants me to think about the debit card when I find out Gabby Petito was strangled dead and her body left to decompose, and I'm thinking about a Chick-fil-A drive-thru. Are you kidding me? He'd like me to think about that. But right now I'm thinking about Gabby Petito being strangled dead. And that is plenty of time to form premeditation and the time it takes to strangle someone. So now we know this was no accident. She didn't fall down and hit her head. She didn't fall into a ravine and drown. We know she died by strangulation. We know she died of asphyxiation. She was murdered. And if they can place him there in the 72 hours of the time she was murdered, it's going to be hard to pinpoint that down. But I bet you it will be close enough for a jury. What do you expect the defense attorney to say? Yeah, he did it. Now, can I tell you where he is? That's not going to happen.
Nancy, let me come back to something that you said just a couple of minutes ago here as you're giving us your final detailed analysis. And that is that maybe, whoever strangled Gabby Petito left epithelial skin cells around the strangulation area. You said that you hope that that DNA survived in the decomposure being out there in the elements. The fact that Brian Laundrie is still just a person of evidence and has not been connected with the death of Gabby Petito, is that a suggestion that there is not yet any kind of evidence that could potentially tie either him or any suspect to her death? Is that a suggestion that maybe that evidence that you talked about does not exist?
I like what you said when you said not yet. You said not yet, and you're absolutely correct. Not yet. But it ain't over yet. Right now, if they have managed to get any DNA, there's still got to be comparisons done. And yes, I think they may have been able to do it by now, but I don't know that. But what I do know is he was with her, he's alive, she's dead. The DNA will be coming. Do I think it survived? Probably not. But if she was still clothed, and I think that she was, we got a better chance of getting DNA off the clothes.
As far as any further detailed information, the toxicology report, obviously he did not reveal. He said only cause and manner of death was what he was going to reveal today. Do you believe there will be any further surprise details that come from what they have learned since they have had her body?
Yes, I do. I definitely do, because if there were no surprises in it, why would they keep it a secret? So right now, either they're not complete or they're withholding evidence. Why? Why would they withhold evidence? And you've just got to think reasonably. What's the likelihood that somebody else would come kill Gabby Petito, this beautiful young girl, when Brian Laundrie's the one making off in her van with her debit card? What did he think? She was going to rub two sticks together out there and make dinner? Think it through. Who else the likelihood that he would steal her van and all of her stuff, her hard drive, her computer, her belongings, use her debit card, and somebody else happens along and kills her? That doesn't even make sense.
Nancy Grace, it's always great to talk to you, get your analysis. We look forward to more of your coverage on this. Appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you, and our prayers with the Petito family right now. This must be awful for them.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.